The $200 lie that changed her fate. The night Lena sold her dignity for $200, she didn't know she was bargaining with a king. Cold winter air bit through the thin fabric of her coat as she stood outside the glowing mansion gates, fingers trembling around the wrinkled bills she had saved for months. Inside, laughter spilled into the night, sharp, cruel laughter she knew too well. The kind that reminded her exactly where she belonged in the world. Nowhere. She wasn't supposed to be here. Not in this neighborhood of marble fountains and imported roses. Not near people who measured human worth in car brands and bloodlines. But tonight was her cousin's engagement party. And her aunt had made one thing very clear. If you embarrass this family again, don't come back. Lena swallowed hard and stepped toward the streetlight where a man stood alone, half hidden in shadow. He wore a simple black coat, nothing expensive, nothing flashy. But something about him felt heavy. Like standing near a storm you couldn't see yet. Her heart pounded as she approached him. "Excuse me," she whispered. The man turned slowly. His eyes were silver gray, cold, ancient, unreadable. Lena almost backed away. Almost. Instead, she forced herself to hold out the money. "Please," she said, voice shaking. "Pretend to be my boyfriend tonight. Just for dinner. I need them to stop humiliating me." Silence stretched between them. The wind howled. For a moment she thought he would laugh. Or walk away. Or worse, call her desperate. Instead he took the money. His fingers brushed hers. Ice and fire shot through her skin at the same time. "I'll come with you," he said quietly. His voice was low, controlled, dangerously calm. And something inside her whispered, "You just changed your life forever." Inside the mansion, golden chandeliers burned overhead like captured suns. Lena felt smaller with every step. But when the man walked beside her, something shifted. Conversations quieted. Heads turned. Not because he was flashy. Because he felt powerful. Dangerous. Alive in a way no one else in the room was. Her aunt's smile froze when she saw them. "Well," her aunt said slowly, "Lena, you finally found someone willing to tolerate you." Laughter rippled across the room. Lena braced for it. But the man beside her spoke. "Careful," he said softly. "Respect costs nothing. Disrespect costs everything." The room went silent. Her cousin's fiancé, a wealthy businessman with political connections, suddenly looked pale. Very pale. And that's when Lena realized something was wrong. People weren't just surprised. They were afraid. Dinner passed in tense silence. The man never introduced himself. Never bragged. Never tried to impress anyone. But the servants avoided eye contact with him. The security guard stood straighter. And once, just once, Lena saw her cousin's fiancé whisper to his bodyguard, "Is that really him?" The bodyguard only nodded. Lena's stomach twisted. Who had she brought here? Later, when the party ended, the man walked her outside. "You shouldn't stay in that house," he said. She laughed weakly. "I don't have anywhere else." He studied her face carefully, like memorizing something. "What's your name?" he asked. "Lena." "I'm Victor." He didn't give a last name. But he handed her a black card. "No numbers printed," she said. "Memorize the number on the back," he said. "Burn the card." She blinked. "Why?" "Because if you ever need protection, call." Before she could ask anything else, a black car pulled up. He stepped inside. And vanished into the night. That should have been the end. But fate had other plans. Because 3 nights later, Lena lost her job. Her aunt locked her out of the house. And a group of men followed her down a dark street. "Pretty girls shouldn't walk alone," one of them said. She tried to run. They grabbed her arm. Panic flooded her chest. And then, the streetlights flickered. Wind roared. The men froze. Because someone stood behind them. Victor. But something was different. His eyes glowed faintly silver. His presence felt ancient. Predatory. The men ran. They didn't even argue. They just ran. Victor turned to her slowly. "You called," he said. I didn't," she whispered. "I heard you anyway." He stepped closer. "You're bleeding." She looked down. She hadn't even noticed the cut on her hand. He gently took her wrist. His touch burned. Then healed. The wound sealed instantly. Lena gasped. "What are you?" she whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he said something that changed everything. "You're not safe in the human world anymore." He took her to a penthouse overlooking the entire city. But something felt wrong. Too quiet. Too old. Too eternal. And then she saw it. A portrait hanging in the hallway. Victor. Standing beside kings. From centuries ago. looking exactly the same. Her knees nearly gave out. "You're not human," she said. He stood behind her. "No," he said softly. "I'm not." Silence filled the space. "I'm not just Mafia," he continued. "That's just business." She turned slowly. "What are you really?" His eyes darkened. "I'm the last ruling blood king of the northern vampire houses." The world tilted. Lena laughed shakily. "That's not funny." "I'm not joking." He walked closer. "I didn't plan to meet you," he said. "But when you handed me that money..." His voice softened slightly. "You smelled like sunlight." She blinked. "That makes no sense." "It doesn't need to." Days passed. He didn't touch her. Didn't force anything. Just protected. Fed her. Gave her space. And slowly she learned the truth. Vampires ruled from shadows. Hidden societies. Ancient laws. And Victor wasn't just powerful. He was feared by creatures older than empires. But something else was happening. He was changing. Softening. Because Lena treated him like a person. Not a monster. Not a king. Victor. One night, she found him standing on the balcony, staring at the moon. "You saved me," she said quietly. "I protect what's mine," he said automatically. She flinched. And he noticed. "I didn't mean ownership," he said quickly. "I meant responsibility." She nodded slowly. "You don't have to protect me forever." He looked at her. Something vulnerable flickered in his eyes. "I know," he said. "But I want to." And that terrified him more than any war. Because vampires didn't fall in love. Not anymore. Not after the blood wars. Not after betrayal nearly destroyed their race. But when Lena smiled at him, for the first time in 300 years, Victor felt alive. But danger was already moving toward them. Because Lena wasn't ordinary. Not just human. Not just unlucky. Ancient forces were waking. And they were whispering her name. Meanwhile, across the ocean, in a hidden vampire council chamber, an elder whispered, "The Sunblood girl has been found." Another asked, "Does the king know what she is?" The elder smiled darkly. "No, not yet." And far away, Lena dreamed of fire, of ancient symbols burning into her skin, of voices calling her, "Queen." She woke screaming, and Victor burst into the room instantly. "You're safe," he said, but something in his voice sounded like he was trying to convince himself too, because destiny had already chosen, and neither of them could escape what was coming. The girl the vampire world was waiting for. The first time Lena realized Victor was afraid of losing her was the night she almost died in her sleep. It started with the dream again. Fire. Ancient stone halls. A throne made of black glass and bones. Voices chanting in a language she had never learned, yet somehow understood. Sunblood returns. The balance awakens. The king must kneel. She stood barefoot on cold stone, wearing a crown that burned like sunlight pressed into her skull. And across the hall, Victor stood in chains. Blood ran down his temple. But he wasn't looking at his captors. He was looking at her. Like she was the only thing keeping him alive. Then the throne burst into flames. And she woke screaming. Victor was beside her before she fully opened her eyes. His hand hovered near her shoulder, not touching, like he was afraid she might break. "You're safe," he said softly. But his voice sounded strained. Too tight. Too controlled. Lena realized something then. He already knew the dream meant something. "You've seen this before?" she whispered. Silence. Then he turned away. Yes. That was the night he told her about the prophecy. Not everything. Not yet. But enough to change how she saw herself forever. "There are old stories," Victor said, standing by the window, city lights glowing behind him. "Older than vampire kingdoms. Older than human civilization." Lena wrapped the blanket tighter around herself. "Stories about what?" "About balance," he said. "Vampires were never meant to dominate the world. We were meant to coexist." She frowned. "And what changed?" "Power," he said simply. He told her about the blood wars. How vampire houses fought each other for control. How entire human cities disappeared. How eventually they realized if they kept going, they would wipe out their own food source. So they hid. Built shadow governments. Controlled from behind corporations and crime syndicates. "That's why I built the Mafia network," Victor said quietly. "Control without exposure." Lena studied him. "You became a monster to stop worse monsters." He didn't answer. But his jaw tightened. "Where do I fit into this?" she asked finally. Victor hesitated. Then said carefully, There are myths about humans who carry something called sun blood. She felt her stomach drop. They're supposed to be able to, he paused, stabilize vampire nature, heal madness, break blood curses. Lena swallowed. That sounds like a fairy tale. Yes, he said. It does. But he didn't sound convinced. The next weeks changed everything between them. Because the vampire world started noticing her. And they didn't all want her alive. The first attack came during daylight. Lena was in the penthouse kitchen trying to cook real food for Victor. Even though he didn't eat human meals. She just wanted to do something normal. Something human. The windows exploded inward. 3 figures moved faster than her eyes could follow. She screamed. One grabbed her throat. Sunblood confirmed, the woman hissed. Bring her alive. Before Lena could even struggle. The attacker flew across the room like something hit her with a truck. Victor stood in the doorway. Eyes glowing silver white. Power rolling off him like a storm. The other vampires froze. Then dropped to their knees. My king, one whispered, shaking. Victor didn't look at them. Only at Lena. Touch her again, he said quietly, and extinction will be mercy. They dragged the attackers away. But that night, Victor didn't leave Lena's side. Not once. You could have killed them, Lena said quietly. Yes. But you didn't. He looked at her. You don't like unnecessary death. Her chest tightened. You pay attention. I always have, he said. Their relationship changed after that. Still slow. Still careful. But closer. More honest. One night, during a city blackout caused by a vampire territory battle, they sat together in candlelight. You're lonely, Lena said suddenly. Victor froze. I ruled for centuries, he said. Loneliness becomes normal. That's sad. I thought so too, he admitted. Until you arrived. That was the first time she saw him smile. Really smile. Not a predator's smile. Not a political smile. A real one. Small. Fragile. Human. But peace never lasts in supernatural politics. And the council finally made their move. They summoned Victor. And demanded he bring Lena. The council chamber was carved into a mountain older than recorded history. Stone pillars. Blood-red torches. Elders who looked both ancient and ageless. And when Lena walked in, every head turned. Like predators scenting prey. One elder stepped forward. Golden eyes. Cracked voice. So, he said. The sun blood returns. Lena felt Victor's hand brush hers. Not holding. Just grounding. She is under my protection, Victor said coldly. The elder smiled. That is the problem. They demanded tests. Ancient rituals. Proof of what she was. Victor refused. Tension exploded across the chamber. You would risk civil war for a human? Another elder spat. She is not just human, Victor said. And Lena realized. He believed it now. Fully. Then something unexpected happened. An elder woman stepped forward. You are afraid, she told Victor. I am cautious, he said. No, she said. You are afraid, because you love her. The chamber erupted in whispers. Victor said nothing. But Lena felt his hand tighten slightly. Then the elder woman turned to Lena. Child, she said softly. Do you trust him? Lena looked at Victor. At the man who never forced her. Never controlled her. Never treated her like she was weak. Yes, she said. The elder nodded slowly. Then the prophecy has already begun. That night after they returned, Lena stood on the balcony beside him. You never told me loving a human was forbidden, she said. It isn't forbidden, he said quietly. It's just dangerous. For who? For me, he admitted. Because vampires who loved could be controlled, manipulated, destroyed. But he still stepped closer to her. Still let their hands brush. Still let himself want something he hadn't allowed in centuries. And far away, in another kingdom, another vampire ruler received news. The northern king has found the sunblood. The ruler smiled. Good. Prepare the hunters. Meanwhile, Lena's dreams grew stronger. More real. More painful. Symbols burned under her skin. Her body ran hot with something not human. Something ancient. Something powerful. And one night, while Victor slept nearby, her eyes glowed gold. When the sun finally burns, war didn't begin with an explosion. It began with silence. The kind of silence that makes predators hold their breath. The kind that makes ancient creatures wake from centuries of waiting. And Lena felt it before anyone else. 3 nights after the council meeting, she woke with her chest burning. Not pain. like sunlight trapped under her skin. She sat up, gasping. The room glowed faint gold. The curtains moved though the windows were closed. And symbols, the same ones from her dreams, flickered across her arms like living light. Across the room, Victor woke instantly. Not slowly. Not confused. Like something inside him had screamed, danger. "Lena," he said, already beside her. But when he touched her wrist, he flinched. Not in fear. In shock. "You're burning," he whispered. "I don't feel hurt," she said, panicked. "I just feel too alive." That was the first time her power manifested while she was awake. And the vampire world felt it. Across continents. In hidden cities. In underground cathedrals. Vampires stopped what they were doing. Because for the first time in centuries, they felt warmth. Not fire. Not pain. Warmth. And it terrified them. Back in the penthouse, Lena's glow slowly faded. But Victor didn't move away. "You need training," he said quietly. "Training for what?" He hesitated. "Survival," he said. He took her somewhere no human had entered in centuries. The old court. A fortress hidden beneath a frozen mountain range. Ancient vampire training ground. Law chamber. Execution hall. History vault. "You trust me a lot," Lena said as they walked through halls carved with war scenes older than language. "I trust what you choose to be," he said. "Not what you are. What you choose." And that mattered more than she realized. Training began slowly. Not combat. Control. Breathing. Focus. Emotional balance. Because her power wasn't physical. It was existence-based. She lost control. She wouldn't destroy buildings. She would destabilize vampire bloodlines. The first time she tried focusing her energy, a nearby vampire dropped to his knees. Not hurt. Relieved. Like someone had removed centuries of pain from his bones. Lena panicked. "I didn't mean to." "It's okay," Victor said quickly. But something in his eyes had changed. Hope. Real hope. Then came the betrayal. It happened during a diplomatic summit. 7 vampire houses. 1 neutral territory. And Lena was supposed to stay hidden. But politics never stays clean. The attack came from inside. One of Victor's oldest generals. Lucien. A vampire who had fought beside Victor for 200 years. Who had helped build his empire. Who Lena had trusted. "You don't understand what she means," Lucien said as his forces surrounded them. "She means the end of our species," he told Victor. "She means balance," Victor replied coldly. "She means weakness," Lucien snapped. Lena stepped forward. "People said the same about humans," she said quietly. Lucien's eyes flashed. "And humans almost wiped themselves out." "Not all of them," she said. Lucien attacked. Not her. Victor. Because he knew. Victor fell. The vampire world would fracture instantly. The fight shook the entire fortress. Speed beyond human sight. Power beyond modern weapons. Stone walls cracking. Ancient pillars collapsing. Lena screamed when Victor hit the far wall hard enough to crater stone. Lucien moved for the killing blow. And Lena snapped. Gold light exploded outward. Not violent. Not destructive. Absolute. Every vampire in the hall froze. Not forced. Calm. Stabilized. Balanced. Lucien collapsed to his knees, shaking. "What are you?" he whispered. Lena stood glowing like living sunrise. "I don't know," she said honestly. The power faded. And Lena collapsed. She woke days later. Victor hadn't left her side. Not once. "You almost died," he said quietly. "I saved you," she said weakly. "Yes," he said. Then softer. "And I don't know how to live in a world where you don't exist." That was the closest he had ever come to saying it. To saying he loved her. Without saying the words. But war was now inevitable. Because news spread. The Sunblood wasn't myth. She was real. And she was bonded to the most powerful vampire king alive. That made her the most valuable target in existence. One night, as Lena walked alone in the training gardens, something felt wrong. Too quiet. Too still. Then she heard a voice behind her. "You really are beautiful in sunlight." She turned. And froze. Because standing there was a man who looked exactly like Victor. But his eyes were red. Not silver. "My name is Valen," he said. "I'm his brother. And I'm here to take what he stole from our destiny." The queen the sun chose. The night Lena met Victor's brother was the night fate stopped waiting. Valen looked like Victor. Same height. Same bone structure. Same ancient, powerful presence. But where Victor felt like winter night, Valen felt like wildfire. unstable, hungry, dangerous in a way that didn't care who burned. You shouldn't be here, Lena said, forcing strength into her voice. Valen smiled slowly. I grew tired of watching from the shadows, he said, and I wanted to see the girl who made my brother forget who he is. He didn't forget, she said. Valen stepped closer. Oh, he did, he said softly. Kings don't love. Kings rule. The air changed. Lena felt it instantly. Old power. Bloodline power. Family power. And underneath it, bang, centuries of it. You hate him, she said quietly. Valen laughed. No, he said. I hate what he chose. And what's that? Hope. Before Lena could answer, Victor appeared between them. Not running. Not rushing. Just suddenly there. Ancient predator speed. Ancient king presence. Leave, Victor said. Valen tilted his head. You brought her here. You exposed her to our world. You broke every law we swore to follow. She is not a weapon, Victor said. No, Valen said. She's worse. Then Valen said the words that changed everything. She is the sun heir. The world seemed to hold its breath. Lena felt something deep inside her react. Like a locked door opening. You didn't tell her? Valen asked, amused. Victor didn't answer. Because the truth was, he didn't know. Not fully. Not until now. Valen's voice lowered. Sunbloods don't just balance vampires, he said. They lead them. Lena stepped back. I don't want that, she whispered. Valen smiled sadly. No one ever does. Then the ground shook. Because war had arrived. Valen's army attacked the old court fortress. Not reckless. Not chaotic. Strategic. Precise. They weren't trying to kill Lena. They were trying to capture her. The battle spread across ancient halls. Across frozen mountain ridges. Across hidden vampire cities. For the first time in centuries, vampires fought openly. Victor fought like a living legend. Untouchable. Relentless. Terrifying. But Valen matched him. Blow for blow. Bloodline against bloodline. And Lena watched, realizing something horrible. She didn't act. They would destroy each other. And take the vampire world with them. So she stepped into the battlefield. Alone. Stop. Her voice wasn't loud. But it echoed like thunder. Gold light erupted around her. Brighter than before. Warmer. Stronger. Alive. Every vampire froze. Not forced. Not controlled. Connected. Like she was the missing heartbeat they didn't know they needed. Victor dropped to one knee. Not in submission. In recognition. Valen stared at her. Shock breaking through centuries of rage. She's complete, he whispered. Lena stepped forward. I'm not your queen, she said. I'm not your weapon. I'm not your salvation. She looked at both brothers. I'm your choice. The light spread. And for the first time in vampire history, madness and bloodlines calmed. Old curses weakened. Ancient rage softened. Tears slid down Valen's face. I forgot what peace felt like, he whispered. The war ended right there. Not with death. Not with victory. With balance. Days later, the Vampire Council gathered again. But this time, they bowed to her. Not forced. Not demanded. Chosen. You don't have to rule, the elder woman said. But you will always be the center. Lena turned to Victor. You never asked me to stay. He swallowed. I was afraid if I did, you would feel trapped. She stepped closer. I stayed, she said. Because you never treated me like I was weak. For the first time in centuries, a vampire king let himself love fully. Without fear. Without control. Without pretending he was still made of stone. Years later, the world never knew the truth. They just knew violence dropped. War slowed. Something changed. And deep in hidden vampire cities, stories spread. Of the girl who paid $200 for a fake boyfriend. And accidentally chose a king.